Hello, welcome to another edition of Labor's Worldview TV. I'm your host, David Johnson. Well, today I'm going to have three special guests talking about a referendum initiative coming up on the ballot for the November election, in which the county wants a quarter-cent sales tax to supposedly upgrade facilities, but a lot of people are saying that it's actually a tax for expanding the county jail. So in a moment here, we'll get to our guests, and stay tuned. Well, welcome, guys. I'll tell you what, we're going to be talking about this new referendum that's going to be coming on the November ballot as far as county facilities tax, and some are calling it the jails tax. And I guess we could start off by maybe all three of you introducing yourself. I guess we could start on my left. Martel?
Martel Miller.
Okay. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
I've been here for all my life. Been doing community actors work for over 12 years, and always ready for a hell of a fight for injustice.
Okay.
So I'm Kadeem Fuller. I'm a co-organizer for Black Lives Matter. I consider myself a prison abolitionist, and I'm also a student at the U of I.
Okay.
I'm James Kilgore, and I've been fighting this jail for 4.5 years as part of build programs, not jails.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just start with Martel. So do you think that's accurate for some people calling this a jails tax? And why? Because you keep hearing that, these county officials saying that they need this tax to save the nursing home, to upgrade the jail because it's not humane enough, and they need to make repairs. I mean, is that the whole story here? Or?
The whole story is that one of our jails wasn't taken care of, and that's the sheriff's fault, with no maintenance done on that jail for several years, I think over 5 years. But the tax that they have is a jail tax. That's how I'm going to look at it. I've been to several meetings. They try to cover up other things, bringing the nursing home in, but they ain't saying how much money the nursing home is going to directly get from it, and what do we need for our nursing home.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Kadeem?
I definitely agree with Martel. From the conversation that I've had, it definitely seems a jail tax, while also trying to talk about this, have this whole nother conversation about the nursing home. So it's basically people paying for our own oppression. When you look at just black people in this county, the fact that you have 13% of us are representing the population, but over 70% of people that are incarcerated are black in this county. So it's definitely we're paying for our own oppression, especially when you look at the fact that it's a tax. So that's how I look at it. It's most definitely a jails tax.
Okay, and James?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is a smokescreen for building the jail. They're packaging it like it's about public facilities, but it's not. They're going to bring in $50 million from this tax in the course of 12 years. But they're not tied to doing anything with that money. They're putting out a plan, a proposal, but they're not bound to follow that. And what disturbs me is the fact that they have a plan designed by the architects and engineers for a $32 to $37 million jail. I think that's what they want, and I think that's where the biggest part of that $50 million is going to go if it passes, regardless of what they say about the nursing home and other facilities needs.
Okay. Martel, I mean, you've lived in this community all your life like I have, and, we've probably known people that have spent a little time in the county jail, both of us. I mean, who are most of these people in the county jail? Is it like what the county board chairman, Patsy Petrie, says, that most of the people in there are murderers and rapists and criminals?
No, most probably 70% of our arrests every day is for nonviolent crime, which you could be a ticket, but they use the county jail for, I guess, punishment before you go to trial.
Okay. So you're talking about, like, say, small amounts of drug possession or non-payment of fines, things like that?
Yeah, things like that, city fines, small drug, traffic violations, which the
traffic violations?
In the traffic violations, they got a study going in the bound about traffic violation of racial profiling. That's how I got started, from dealing with young people, probably 10 years ago, by being profiled, and that's what got me into dealing with the injustice right now.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to have to invite you back on a show sometime just to talk about that 10-year ago period when you were actually observing traffic stops in the black community and actually documenting them, correct?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get to that some other program because I think that's a great story in itself. But anyway, Kadeem, I mean, you're not originally from Champaign, Urbana. You're from Alabama originally. Right. But do you see similarities between here and where you're from?
I really do. So similarities between not just Alabama or Opelika, Alabama, where I'm from, and Champaign, but just nationally, right? When you just look at how black people are being given these fines, like Martel was saying, and then it really talks. Well, it's really interesting how that's continuing to add to this whole notion of criminality of black people. So using small offenses like not paying for fines and things like that, and then picking people up and placing them in jail where they, might sit for 3 or 4 years before they even get a trial. So especially when you look at Black Lives Matter, when you look at police brutality, one example that's really clear for me is Alton Sterling. A couple months ago, he was gunned down. And as soon as he was murdered by the police, they started showing his rap sheet, which was largely just not paying fines and things like that to add it to this whole notion of criminality, inherent criminality for black people. So it's really state sanctioned, placing fines on people, and then it's really adding to this criminality.
Okay. And James, what's your take on all this? I mean, not just the percentage of people in the county jail there for minor, offenses, but also the percentage of African Americans in the county jail.
Well, actually, Champaign County probably has about the highest racial disparity in this jail population of any county in the U.S. Certainly of any county in Illinois. The figures that Kadeem gave: 13% in the general population, 70% in the jail population. So it goes without saying that we have a racism at each and every step along the criminal justice system continuum. So first we have the traffic stops, but there's also about what people get charged with, what kind of bail is set for them, what kind of plea bargains are offered for them, and what kind of sentencing they get. So it's a whole system that's conspired to punish black people disproportionately, poor people in general, and we do find a lot of people in jail who have mental health issues and who have substance abuse issues, and we find that in our community there's no detox facility, there's no crisis intervention spot for people with mental health issues, and instead of providing those facilities which would keep people out of jail, the county board wants to put those facilities inside the jail. So the joke that people make, and it's not a funny joke, but it's that if you want to get mental health or substance abuse treatment, the first thing you got to do is get arrested and get to the jail.
Yeah.
I'm glad James brought that up about the substance abuse and about the stuff with the mental health. I've dealt with 2 people that have schizophrenic in my life, and it's hard to get them to the hospital when they're going through their times and tribulations through their illness. Now, can you imagine trying to care them when they're in their state of mind to the county jail to get treatment? I think that was one of the dumbest ideas they can probably think of, is putting a mental facility inside a jail. Because then you get the people there that's schizophrenic going through their sickness, and you have officers in where he can be seen, where it can go from a mental illness to a crime. They can get charged with disorderly conduct, all kind of stuff, and they're not mentally stated. They're not mentally stable to even be charged with a crime. But if you got them at the county jail, that's what's going to happen. When they decide they want to walk away or run, they can get charged with resisting arrest, fleeing the officer, because he tell you to stop and you run and you mentally ill. You're not in the capable mind to understand what this officer said. And I think that is something really, really wrong with having a mental facility.
And the jailers at the county jail, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they're trained in handling people that are mentally ill or for people that are, going through detox or some kind of withdrawal.
Yeah, and they talk about giving them like 40 hours training, but to get a mental ill certificate to treat mental illness or something from a hospital take you 4 or 5 years. They can do it in 40 hours and take other people 40 years. Something's wrong with that equation too.
Sure.
And I think also just bringing everything to full circle, I think another aspect of why we oppose this jail so much is the fact that when you boil everything down, it's definitely a case of neglect for black people that have been incarcerated or people that have been placed in this county jail. The fact that you have three black people dead at the hands of the county jail in the past year and a half. So you have Paul Clifton, Veronica Horsted, and Toya Frazier. So these are names that are etched within our hearts because Essentially, they were killed because there was neglect from the county jail. And why build another county jail when there's so much neglect? And people are dying in the county jail, and that's something that we can't continually to not have a conversation about.
When you say neglect, what did they die of? The three people you named.
For three, mostly just the fact that they did have drug issues before coming to the jail, and you have prison guards, you have the county guards not really checking up on these people. So essentially, dying from withdrawal. I mean, we talk about how important these services are. When you look at drug detox and mental illness and mental hospitals, but when you're placed in a place that's full of oppression and full of people who really don't care, those services get neglected, and those people are largely dead because of you have guards that, quite frankly, don't have the skills and don't have the compassion to do the things that they need to do to save people.
Okay.
And I think it's important to recognize that the county board is not ignorant about this. We've been raising these issues for 4.5 years. There was a consultant's report by ILPP, which made a whole list of recommendations to reduce the jail population rather than build. There was a community justice task force, which made a whole set of recommendations as well for alternatives to incarceration. And to date, the county board has done very little to implement any of those. They spent a little bit of money on reentry, a little bit of money on giving an investigator to the public defender, and they formed a racial justice task force after we basically almost shut down the county board meeting led by Black Lives Matter. And it was only that gave them the impetus to form the racial justice task force, and then they've decided that they're not even going to give them 1 single cent of support. So how serious do they take these problems? So for example, there's a meeting of the racial justice task force tonight, and they don't have a spot for them in Brookings for them to have their meetings, so they have to go and hunt around town to find a meeting place. And 2 days ago, they still didn't know where they were going to meet. That's just complete irresponsibility. They don't take this seriously at all. And how can they be wanting to build a jail at the same time that they're having a racial justice task force, which is primarily there to look at how we can reduce that racial disparity in the jail?
Okay. What do other communities do? I mean, as far as the ones that are better statistically than Champaign County, as far as not having as many people per capita in county jails. I mean, is there things like drug court or pretrial things, or I mean, do you know of any examples that could be a model, let's say, for the county board?
I mean, one of the things that a lot of communities are looking at is getting rid of cash bail. That is, either somebody qualifies to be out on bail or they don't. We find, like in Washington, D.C., they've been doing this for a long time. 88% of the people return. There's no the rate of absconding is no greater than if they have cash bail. It's not the cash that keeps people coming back. It's the fact that they're tied to the community, and most of the people also, they're poor folks. They don't have a lot of alternatives. They can't run very far. They don't have a big nest egg to fly to Bermuda or something and hide out from the authorities. They're just trying to keep themselves together in the community. So that's one of the things. And then I think the other issues that have been mentioned is having these services in the community: mental health, substance abuse, and of course there's a lot more education and restructuring of the way in which policing is done that could have a big impact on that as well.
Okay. Martel, was there a study? I've been reading some things in the newspaper over the last, year or so about some study that's been done for the last 2 or 3 years here in Urbana about traffic stops, about police stopping, as far as racial profiling?
Yeah, they did like several studies on racial profiling, having a statistician come and look at it. But you can have a statistician come and look at it, but you look at the percentage of the drivers in Urbana, and you just see we're stopped. If they stopped, I know that was like 2 years ago. If they had kept stopping people like they were stopping like 2-3 years ago, they would stop every black driver in Urbana less than 4 years.
Wow. And I've heard stories before from people I know that sometimes they've been pulled over, African American, saying that they had a license plate tail light out or something hanging from their their rearview mirror.
Yeah, I haven't seen that happen quite often from watching stops, but you don't even have to be driving. I stay a couple blocks over at Illinois Street. I have been stopped 3 times, twice by Urbana police from walking down the street. Once asking where I'm going, and another one's just stopped me. I come off my porch on the telephone, standing in my yard. You know what I'm saying? She asked me, do I need anything?
Oh.
And I said, no. And
didn't say, I need a cup of coffee and
no,
a Danish?
then I asked her what she's doing here, did anyone call you?
Yeah.
She gets mad at me and asks me why I'm questioning. I said, you come in contact with me first. I'm in my front yard.
Yeah.
And so we talk about the traffic stop, but as a black individual, your skin is a crime in this community because you can be stopped just for being black.
Okay. And I'll get back to you, Kadeem, as far as what city are you from in Alabama?
Opelika, Alabama.
Okay. How large a community is that?
Around about maybe 50 or 60,000, I would say.
Okay, so it's about the size of just Champaign.
Yeah.
Okay. What Martel was saying, have you experienced instances like that from the town you're from? Or known people have had things like this happen to them?
I think it's across the board. I think
Yeah.
when you just look at policing in black and brown neighborhoods, it's completely different. The fact that you have, I always say, you know, the first time that I saw guns were pointed at me from police officers. So both of them while in the car. And so having to manage, like Martel was saying, being black and being in this society where blackness is seen as a crime, blackness is seen as deviant, you know, blackness is seen as a penalty. How do you navigate in a world like that?
Yeah.
And I think for us, kind of like Martel was saying, you don't even have to be driving, you don't have to do anything. You can just be literally on your property being black. That creates, you know, opportunity for someone to challenge you or challenge your humanity because of your skin color. And so all oppressed people have had a interaction with police officers.
Okay.
So, and I don't want to make it into an individual thing because it's really much global.
Sure.
We just look at how black people are policed.
Okay. What's your, how long have you been here in Champaign-Urbana as a student?
Around about 2 years.
Okay. And have you had any experience, I mean, is there any comparison between Champaign-Urbana and where you're from as far as the police? I mean, have you had any experiences or any bad experiences or any people you know? I mean, I guess I'm trying to get a comparison. Is Champaign-Urbana unique or is it pretty common?
Let me give you a comparison.
Sure.
The Midwest states are the highest of the ones that incarcerate people of color. At one
More so
time,
than the South.
yeah. At one time, Illinois was 51-1.
Wow.
We didn't drop that some, but the highest incarceration for blacks right now is Wisconsin. Then I think Minnesota's followed like fourth, and Indiana and Missouri ain't that far behind. And all these are right here in the Midwest.
Okay.
You know, so we can't look at the South as bad or California as bad.
Sure.
It's right here where we stay where they doing man of color at an enormous rate. So,
Okay, I wasn't trying to minimize anything. I was
yeah,
trying
right.
to
That's, I'm just letting you know.
comparison, sure.
Yeah, when you compare it to Alabama, you think it's Alabama from the history of Alabama, but the history of Illinois is pretty well hidden how they treat blacks.
That's a good point, Martel.
And Illinois actually has the highest 15% black population, 58% blacks in the state prison system. So that's no other state has that big a gap, 15 to 58. That's 43% difference. No other state.
Gosh, I mean, there seems like there's tons of data, if you will. I mean, personal stories, which you know, I know people call them anecdotal, but they're eyewitness testimonies, as far as I'm concerned. And then you've got, you know, actually statistical studies. I mean, based on, you know, pure, you know, scientific analysis and everything. I mean, this is just, I mean, this is glaring. I mean, and I think, you know, it's just amazing that this is. It seems like it's getting worse too. I don't know if any of you feel that way or not.
And I'm gonna go back to something else. When it goes to this taxes they doing for the nursing home,
Yes.
if we had a tax just for the nursing home and to get our kids in school, early child learning, I think that would pass with no problem. People don't want a jail. When we can make sure we have 100% early education for our kids, 3 to 4 years old, then you may cut the jail population. Kids won't go in school behind and be struggling through school and end up not working out with their grade and end up in trouble.
Okay.
You know, we could fix the jail problem by spending the money the right way.
How many more jail cells do they want to add here in with this referendum?
I think it's like 70 something.
Yeah, they want to build 70 new cells and close the downtown jail.
Jail.
And 30 of those 70 are supposed to be for a medical and mental health unit. Now they've started to add on the community-based mental health unit, which is still only 12 to 16 beds, and we know that it's not as big a priority as the jail. If they even manage to spend the money on that, you can still see that it's less than half of what they're providing for people in the jail. So their priorities are all askew. And the fact that they're trying to solve a criminal justice problem with buildings. It's not a building problem. It's a political problem, and they don't want to address the political problem of racial disparity, the political problem of people being incarcerated because they don't have money. They don't have money for a lawyer, so they get incarcerated for longer periods of time, or they can't pay bail. They stay in there. They lose their job. They lose their housing, and so forth. So the county board, despite the fact that the community has been putting this in their face for 4.5 years, they're still running away from it. This is right where we were in 2012 when we first started doing this. You remember, Martel?
Oh, yeah.
We first started doing this, they came with a $20 million jail proposal, and then they said it wasn't $20 million, and we said, oh, yes, it is. We've got your emails. We know that's $20 million. They still denied it. Now they've got a $30 million, and they're denying it again. But this is what it's about. They haven't come very far at all.
Okay. Well, we're about to have to wrap up here, so any last statements from gentlemen?
I'm glad you're having a show like this to make the public aware of what's going on with this jail tax. And it is a jail tax. And I have people, from me, do not vote for this tax. You know, if they want to do something with the nursing home, we can put it on the referendum in April for the nursing home. But do not say yes to this jail tax.
Okay, Kadeem?
I think history has taught us when you, especially dealing with mass incarceration, if you build a jail, you're gonna fill it with black and brown people. So this is just another ploy for our very own oppression while making us pay for it. So continually say no to the referendum. Continue to fight this thing. Black Lives Matter. Champaign Urbana chapter is also hosting a rally just for the community members to get more aware of, and also to just practice self-care and everything that we do, having a rally so we can kind of, for one, people to understand what's going on, and to just build a community in a sense.
Okay,
so
when is that rally?
October 29th from 1 to 3 is going to be at Douglas Park.
Is that on Saturday?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
All right, and James?
I think they've covered everything. Basically, we're not going to solve the problem of mass incarceration by building more jails. So let's put that money somewhere else besides building a jail.
Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming today.
Thank you.
Okay.